All right, so today we're sitting here with Tanner Lawley.
What's up? What's up?
Tanner, a buddy of mine. We met at a real estate. We live Max Maxwell.
We love.
It was like a year ago.
Almost a year. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we didn't meet there. We met like a month later, and it was in New York, and it was one of those. Hey, I see you. You see me. I know you. You know me. But why do we know each other? Or is this one of those? Are you gay and I'm gay and let's get together type moments?
It definitely wasn't that. That wasn't the vibe I was going for. But I do paint large hearts for a living, and a lot of people take that the wrong way.
Yeah, well,
So,
I mean, that's what that is.
It is.
That's
It
what
is. You got one of the originals.
Nice. I
And
like
it looks like you've been touching it.
What do you mean?
I'm just messing with you.
Well, the frame dropped a little bit. So there's a little crack in the frame.
A little bit.
It's like a millimeter.
Yeah. It's okay.
You know.
Was he mad? Was he mad when he left? Is that what happened? No?
I'll take it to the shop. Raphael, fix my frame, please.
Yeah. He'll hook you up. I don't, yeah.
We
can get you. It's fine. Hey, we all have scars.
It's a beautiful painting.
So yeah, no, I remember we were in the mastermind. We know you weren't in the mastermind, but you were in the interview. Like whenever we were,
I was in the VIP area because you know,
because you're just you.
I'm just a VIP.
You just very immense people.
I'm immense.
You're a very immense person.
It's like, what is it? I know people.
Yeah, I know the guy. But yeah, I think, and I remember seeing you because I remember you asking Gary. You're like,
hey, I'll be in New York next week or whatever.
Can I do this? And he said, no. He said no.
Yeah.
He said no.
What it was like, hey, I'll be in New York in a couple weeks. When I'm there, would love to do whatever. Do you need anything? Can I bring you on anything? Is there anything I could do while I'm there? Also, would let you get you on my podcast. And he goes, no and no. Next question. And then he was like, oh, I felt, and you could tell it's not that he ever feels bad, but you could tell he was like, he immediately recognized that maybe he was a little bit too harsh with that. So it was kind of entertaining.
For me, I was on the front row, of course, you know, so being on the front row and hearing that behind me, you know, and then once I saw, but yeah, you know, when you're a big man, you feel like yourself and like myself, you just size people up and you're like, yeah, I could take him, you know, and when I saw you, I was like, I don't know. It'd be tough.
It's like, oh, this one. Instead of me taking him, let's just join forces this time.
Yeah. We're gonna be on the same team.
Yeah, but it was cool because so in New York, so you're an artist and you're in New York for a showing, and we'll get into that in a second. And I was up there because a friend of mine who was there who I hadn't seen, and the friend of mine who I had up there, I met her when I lived over in the Middle East in Dubai, and she used to be like a street performer. In Dubai, or no, in Doha, Qatar. And she's like, hey, well, there's this art show. Do you want to go? I was like, absolutely, go. And then we're walking around and I'm like, you know, we see each other. And then it was like, it took about 45 seconds and then both of us clicked. Oh, we alive, you know? And then it was just like, cool, man. Then we just started talking. Then he came on the Propelio podcast, and it's already been a year.
Yeah. It was, I remember it's like, we're both very recognizable people.
Yeah.
You know, in a crowd we'll stand out. Like we're not easily forgettable, you know? So being that we're not easily forgettable, you notice somebody immediately, and you had came into my booth, you know, just as you went upstairs, I was the first booth right there. So, and that's how it was, but yeah, it's a small world. But again, when you notice things like that, and notice people like that, you always take, you know, and I remember coming up and saying something to you, because I was like, aren't you just at, you know, and then I think was our friend May there the same night?
Not that night.
Okay, so she came the next. Oh, yeah, because you hooked us up with the Facebook thing that Raphael went to.
Yeah. There's So what it was is, and that's what, again, the small worldness of everything. And then later I find out it's not that it was just very coincidental. I didn't meet her at We Live, but somehow came across her on Instagram because maybe I was looking for New York real estate, because I was like, well, I'm here, I want to work.
Or you need a product for your curly hair.
Something. And
Stump team.
I don't remember where. Anyway, I somehow came across her.
He's blushing, everyone.
And I'm in love with me.
I didn't go, whoa, easy. Is this kind of a talk show here?
May. No. Anyway, so I was in town. I met up with her at a WeWork, and then it was like 3 hours later, and then she was talking about how, a friend of mine, Tanner, artist, and we're talking, and da 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 da, and then it was like, so we had that conversation, and then I ran into you and Raphael and told you about the Zuckerberg Institute thing, and it wasn't until the next day that all three of us were kind of like, oh, this is real. This is kind of cool and weird, because Raphael knew May, and anyway, random riveting podcast material.
Yeah, it shows how small the world is, but how everybody that's searching or seeking, to make a name for themselves, run in the same circles and run into the same, it's easy. Well, I don't know, to run into the same people. It seems like
another one that was funny, and this we could transition off this topic because it's silly, but so a friend of mine who's getting married like in a week or so, she texted me 2 nights ago, and she's like, "Hey, have you seen that new cheer documentary on Netflix?" Because she knows I was a cheerleader in college.
Yeah.
And I was like, "I haven't yet, no, but I'm sure it's good."
My wife watches it, and I was like, "Is that going to come up today in our conversation?"
Absolutely.
And it did, and you brought it up.
Absolutely. But here's what was funny. So 5 minutes after that conversation, she goes, "Holy shit, you know Monica?" So Monica's the coach of the cheer team there. I was like, "Yeah, I cheered there." She's like, "I didn't know that," and I was just like, "Yeah." So then I actually DM'd Monica, and we rekindled a friendship that it's been a year or two since we talked. But random name dropping. I'm going to name drop the hell out of Netflix and Monica. And
no, it was a great little document. My wife's been watching it at night before she goes to bed, and I was a kid that grew up with a mom that was a cheerleading sponsor, coach, or whatever. So I remember all the super hot girls that were way older than me staying at my house. And then I either slept in a tent outside or in our camper outside, and usually it was the camper, but we would have like all the hottest girls at my house when I was a kid. And
that's why I got into cheerleading.
Yeah, I believe it. But you watch those guys, and I watch the girls, and, my niece she won state in cheerleading last year and got a ring and all that kind of stuff, and they were number 1 in 4A or whatever. And to me, I never thought of it as sporting, but for them, there's a huge, like people that are into cheerleading, like, no, it is but they've always been fighting. No, this is a real sport. But then you watch the video and you watch what they go through and all that. I'm like, yeah, it takes.
But you could transition that to, because your mindset is different than other people. Because last time we talked at Propelio, in order to review that, we talked about how you take art very uniquely, in the sense that you look at it from a very business standpoint. Whereas maybe the traditional artist is like, it's not real art unless you're starving and broke and die in detriment. And you took art in the sense of, I'm an artist because I think I could be a successful entrepreneur doing this.
Well, I think that, for me, it's the creating and the making, and anything. And when it comes to money, it's about the numbers, so no matter what business you're in, if you're flipping hamburgers or if you're, cleaning houses or anything, it doesn't really matter what it is you're trying to sell, but it boils down to the numbers. It's the one thing that everybody cares about,
right?
And judges success and things like that. But I had to form those habits. I knew that I wanted to be an artist. It wasn't something I was trained to be, or that I knew, I was taught this or that, or someone said, "Here, let me teach you how to be a successful artist." And it wasn't any of that. It was I'm just going out. I'm just going to do. I'm going to make. I'm going to do this until I die.
So
I'm not dead yet.
Because it's all about the numbers. Is that, like, with the studio? Is that why one of the reasons that you're saying, okay, I'm going to change it from the Lawley art group and make it more? It's just the art group now, right?
Well, it's the art gallery.
The art gallery. So now you can, because I know you want to build a podcast studio there. You're wanting to do more events there, because if I heard you right, you're gonna where a lot of the storage and office space, you're gonna rip that out, right, to make it more gallery space.
No, it's actually gonna stay pretty much the same, but the podcast studio will have its own. It'll have its own little space, but the goal is to take my name off of it.
Yeah.
go back to just me being an artist and a business owner, but build a business that is sellable when I leave.
Well, and that's why I wanted to do this topic, because if you take your name off of it, it's a sellable asset. But also now, shout out to Raphael. I know Raphael's been with you for a while, but maybe now that because it's not the Lawley Art Group, it's just the art gallery. Now you could have 20 Raphaels that showcase there or whatnot.
Well, the goal is I think what we're going to try to do is, we're still event-driven business. So we are, if you want to do an event, a Propelio event, you want to do whatever, like we would be able to lease those out and bring people in and entertain people for that night, which is to get people in front of our artwork.
Right.
But if people can pay part of the bills to do what they got to do and get in front of our artwork at the same time, it's a win.
Yeah, it's like free marketing.
But I want to make it to where, artists have a chance to be up for a month, but I'll give them the position and the opportunity to make majority of the money, but they got to be willing to risk the biscuit, like you got to pay to play,
right.
Just as in real life, but I'm giving artists the ability to get 100% of their sales by paying to be on the wall.
Oh, okay.
So, but
like
again, paying rent,
okay.
But opportunity. And, we're still in the beginning stages of how it's all going to form out. But right now I'm the cash cow, so my art's the cash cow. I've built it to where people know to come there for me, but it's a 7-figure business,
but
I want to switch it.
I was at the studio, I don't know, a couple weeks. It's whenever you went to Denver, and I just dropped in because I how it's basically when it
Aspen.
comes to,
I was in Aspen right before the holidays.
When Facebook or Instagram kind of
Thanksgiving
justifies or tells you who you should pay attention to. And I went a couple months without really seeing y'all's content on Instagram, and all of a sudden it popped up, and I was like, man, I haven't seen you guys in forever. I'm gonna drop by the Dragon Street and say hi. And Raphael was like, yeah, remember that big ass painting? He's like, yeah, Tanner just sold that for like $20 billion. So he drove it to Aspen. I was like, good for him.
20 billion. I would have flown that bad boy to Aspen.
You'd have built a plane.
Might have a fleet of planes to bring that bad boy.
Like hand paint the entire thing.
Well, there's a few times we got a little sideways because they'd shut down some of the highways. There was a big snowstorm during that time, but we were safe.
So what made you the decision? And this is, it's interesting to me. Why did you drive it versus like fly it out or have a shipping service?
For me,
hand holding and placement, because going back to your roots of actually, and I know if people aren't familiar with it, they're like, why are you skipping ahead? But when you first got into this business, you actually were the hanger. Yeah.
Paint contractor, handyman, jack of all trades. I did all that stuff. But for me, I get the enjoyment of it. It's a few different phases. I believe that in business, you got to get in the habit of going the extra mile. You got to put in the extra work. And so for me, when people invite me into their home, I've got trust established. I've done enough for them to trust me to let me in their home. But also when I provide that level of service for free, I don't expect anything in return. I did that at my cost. That came out of my profit to go do that. But I didn't, I was happy
when you
giving
$20 billion.
It was a few billion short of that.
Only a few.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of 20 billion, so a few so you made like 16, 17.
But no, it was a $40,000 painting. So still a $40,000 painting, a lot of money.
Of course, yeah.
Very blessed to have it. But I own 100% of me. So I don't have any galleries getting a cut, which the art gallery, the new one, will get a cut.
Oh, nice.
Because
it's a business that stands alone.
It's a business that has to make money and all that. Now I'm still me. Now I own 17,500 shares in that new business, so I'm highly invested that it does well, but I'm restructuring because one, me being a sole proprietor that I've been, self-employed, you have self-employment tax to the IRS. And so that's 13%, 13 or 15, but I think it's 13.2. So 13 or 15, but anyway, let's call it 15. So 15% of every dollar I make goes to them for self-employment tax. Well, if I take a salary and I'm an employee in a corporation, I can pay myself a $50,000 or $60,000 salary. Well, I'll be taxed at that tax rate for that amount of money. The lowest tax rate would be $25,000 to $30,000 base. So, and then you pay yourself in profits at the end of the year. Well, your profits aren't taxed like your income is taxed. Income is taxed at a certain income tax rate. Well, profit, K1 dividends, things like that, those are taxed differently. And so it's kind of like, let's say if you were into cryptocurrency and you were trading cryptocurrency, well, cryptocurrency, every time you touch it, move it, do anything, that's a taxable event. Mm-hmm. And if that's within the first year of you holding that asset, then that's taxed at 33% on those gains, those capital gains. Well, if you hold it for a year, you're taxed at 20%. And so if you're getting in the crypto space, the smart play is to hold for a year before you do anything, because you're gaining 13% by being patient, by delaying the gratification of that end result that you want, which is profit.
Do you do a lot of crypto? Or is it more of a hobby or actual?
I made a lot of money. I mean, I got in it and I rode the wave up, and I sold out December. I sold half of everything that I owned 12/12/2017. So if you go back and look at 12/12/2017, look at how the market was. It was as strong as it got. I mean, it was top of the market. But
if you don't mind sharing, how much did you make appreciation wise?
I'll give you a few examples. So Litecoin, I started buying out at that moment. Whenever I got in, I was in it for 6 weeks in this chunk, so I had bought in some, Bitcoin when it was 600, bought some at 2000, but it was for a transaction. It was for, something in that moment, but I didn't understand the investment side of it. But when I started investing in it, within 6 weeks, I was getting in at $60 on Litecoin. Well, I sold out at $358.
So if you say you only bought one, you still made $290.
Yeah, but I bought way more than one, but still, and Ethereum, I started buying into Ethereum when it was, what was it at? I'll have to look back at the trade. I can't remember the exact number on it, but Bitcoin, I was buying in at 6, and then it went to 18.6 in 6 weeks. But I took my profit, cashed out, and watched everybody lose after that. People buying in at 20, 19, Now I caught a lot of that profit that I made. I timed it wrong as I learned my lessons on the way down. But now I've got a stash of, like, I had one the other day that just skyrocketed, Bitcoin SV. And I got them for free because I was a part of the Bitcoin Cash fork when that forked in 2018. And so I had 5 Bitcoin SV tokens for free. Never touched them. Well, those went in December. They're $80 and they hit 440 this week a piece for free.
Do you still see, because it seems like the popularity, and by popularity, I mean the social awareness of it has died down, in my opinion, in the last 2 years. Because again, when there was that wave in 2017, like
everybody was getting mainstream.
Literally, I made a stupid meme about it just because, as real estate investors, like if you go to a #real estate investor Instagram feed, like back then, every other post was about Bitcoin. It's like, you're not a real estate investor if you're doing Bitcoin. I mean, you can still do that. I'm not saying there's not a validity there, but real estate is property. It's a house. It's a commercial. It's a whatever. Bitcoin is a Bitcoin. So long-winded tangent of saying is there still a future for you, at least in your opinion?
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
It is the future. And, 2017, Trump popped the bubble. I mean, there was an article that was on Zero Hedge recently where he admitted it. They admitted popping the Bitcoin bubble, the crypto bubble. So everything came crashing down that. But I mean, we have a financial system right now that is the craziest of crazies are happening as we speak. Mm-hmm. The Fed is bailing out banks right and left. I mean, like, I think tonight, $500 billion has to come for the repo market, the overnight repo market, the 2 week, these repo markets, and they just keep pumping them full. And, what's happening is banks are able to go to the Fed and say, hey, we need a loan, but they don't ever have to pay back the loan. Like they're getting free. And the bank the Fed has the ability to print that money for free. And like, they don't have to account to anybody. They don't have to do anything. They just print it. And so they give these banks this money, and, we're at the top. I mean, like, this is the top, all-time highs of this, all-time highs of that, and now I've been on the sidelines for the last 4 years because I thought there was going to be a crash. It didn't crashed, and then I go back to who are these guys that are in charge and who's really listening and that kind of, or who's the people that, and I remember an article a few years ago from Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger was saying that he believes it could go to 40,000. I'm pretty sure it was Charlie Munger.
The Bitcoin.
He believes that the market, the Dow, can go to 40,000 before it pops, which is crazy. Now, I still believe there will be $100,000 Bitcoin because one, it's so easy. I mean, there is a use case for it.
Weren't they predicting $1 million?
Yeah. I mean, and when you think about the value of our dollar, I mean, our dollar's not getting more valuable now in the world stage and finance and money and what one country's currency is worth versus another and all that. They're all in debt, and we live in a debt-based society, But we were always told to pay your bills, get out of debt, But all the people that have money, most of them built their wealth on debt, other people's debt.
So are you familiar with Grant Cardone?
Yeah.
So Corey Thompson, who's actually in here like 20 minutes before you got here, he interviewed Grant Cardone maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and a lot of that conversation was about debt and about how the biggest difference between him being a gajillionaire versus just a gajillion was the fact that he just did bigger deals and got more debt. It not much has changed. He just added zeros, and he still owes a lot more money, but it's the same thing.
But he didn't care if he ever pays it.
No,
because he'll just close down the LLC, bankrupt, whatever. If it crashes, he'll never be held accountable for it because they're all protected legally through corporate, tax structures and all that kind of stuff. And
here's something I find fascinating. And this is, and first of all, I'll fully disclaim and preface, I'm speaking completely out of my ass. I don't know firsthand this. This is just what I've been told.
That's metaphorical for you out there. Like he hasn't been over and like,
Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
No, but it's like, so like if you're buying a single family house, like say you wanted to buy a piece of crap, $25,000 lot value house in South Dallas or whatever, you would still have to get like a big ass contract, take it to the title company, go through title insurance, go through all these processes to go. They take it to the plant to title research to buy the house. But say you wanted to do a $10 million transaction with a bank and saying, hey, I want to buy debt from you. What do you need? It's like, okay, well, here's my letter of intent, and you have a wire in your bank. Transaction's done. It's like, wait a minute. There's more. I mean, and there's more to that, obviously, but it's just interesting to me that to do a simple transaction like a house or whatever, or not a simple transaction, a low dollar amount transaction has more hoops and hurdles and steps than like a huge transaction.
Yeah, because they're not interested in the small transactions.
Well, we'll take that art piece for $40,000 that you sold. It was like, hey, I want this. Cool. Here's a check. Here's a PayPal, whatever, and then you drive it out. That's a fairly simple transaction, but I'm sure there's probably more barriers to buy a stick of gum at Walmart.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just think there's an interesting correlation there of when it's a lower dollar amount object versus a higher dollar amount. But maybe it's because once there's a high dollar amount, they know they're dealing with a higher sophisticated people, and they want to make sure that they treat them better. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I'm sure there's some of those same dynamics for a lot of things, but I know that with my pricing of my artwork, a lot of artists always want to know, how do you price your artwork? Like, how do you know what it's worth? and I've always let the market price it by sales,
Right.
so to me, if you've got a price and you're not selling it, then it's either not worth it
Right.
or it's worth more than you're charging for it, but people want to know what's wrong with it and why it's so cheap. Because there's two elements at play. Because, when I first started painting my work back in 2007, 8, I guess 8, 9, I really started selling it, and I started visualizing being an artist and making money. And I remember my goal was to make $50,000 a year at first.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went to 100, and then it went to 2, and now it's $1 million, a year. So I keep stepping my game up, but I've always let the market price me. But once I took a jump a few years ago, and I lost a sale because my painting was too cheap. And they said that they called my painting cheap. And I was at a big New York show, and it was 2016, and this big gold heart is one of the first ones I did. And when I took it there, I had it priced at $13,500. And at the time, $10,000 was the most I'd gotten for that size of a painting. Mm-hmm. And I was stepping up at that time for a 5x5, so 60 inch by 60 inch. And, I just sold one in March in New York. And so I went back. This one was definitely a little better because I started adding the gold to it. And the gold came from a mistake. I was mad at it, and I just sprayed it all gold. And then I was like, oh, why'd I do that? And then I removed all the paint. And then I was like, ooh, that looks good, And so ran with it. Now sold, I don't know, $300,000 or $400,000 worth of those gold hearts, just that one style. But I had people, and everything shows up in threes in my life, So when I am told to read a book, I'm told to read that same book 3 times within a month or a few weeks. When I'm told, hey, have you ever done affordable art fair in New York? Never heard of it. A couple of days later, you know what? You should do affordable art fair in New York. I think you'd do great. Heard that before. Heard of that. And then the third time, have you ever done affordable art fair? I think you'd do great. Like this, again, shows up in threes. So I had 3 different people at that show say, they look at the price and they go, why is it only $13,000? Do you realize how good this painting is? And then I go to a, big meeting, and then I get schooled because I think all paintings should be the same price if they're the same size. And, the owners of the show are like, Tanner, how many paintings do you sell a year? I'm like, I don't know, 300, 400, and they're like, originals? I said, yep, originals. He goes, are they all priced the same? I said, yeah, by size. He goes, are they all just as good as each other? I'm like, no. He goes, how many of those would you call a masterpiece in a year? I was like, I don't know, 4 or 5. He goes, then why are you pricing them all the same? And I was like, good point. Well, I jumped it at my next show. I took that same painting that didn't sell, and I went to Miami and for Art Basel. And I was like, I'm going to put $20,000 on this painting, and I sold it, and then the next one, one of the next times I went back, I took a bigger painting, and I was like, I'm going to put $35,000 on this one.
So,
and I sold it, like
when you were selling it though, like, because the week before you're trying to sell it for $13,500 and you told her it was cheap, and then you get it for $20,000. Do you have the reaction of, because I know there's several reactions here, but in my head I'm thinking, wow, somebody finally values me, or was it more of a, this idiot just paid me $7,000 more? If he would have just been in New York, he would have gotten it for 13.
The funny thing was the piece went back to New York. The guy was from New York, and if he would have went to that other show, he would have bought me at that price, but the thing was, I definitely didn't feel what an idiot. It was now I know my value, and now I know what people are willing to pay for it. But I thought it was a stretch, but it was just my limitations for myself. I never gave myself the credit to be able to charge that much, but I would go into the art world and I'd see what stuff was selling for. And there's certain artists that I know of that are jerks, that are a-holes, that are like, and then these guys are selling for 5-6 times my value. And I'm like, who would want a jerk's painting on their wall? Like, why would you want that energy? But when I look at that artist's work and the type of people that like his work, they're not my type of people. Those people wouldn't find any value in what I do, but the type of work that I do, I've got a different value. Like, I'm hoping that, the people that buy my work, their kids fight over it when they're dead.
Right.
Like, I hope that it's that piece that they connect with, and that every time they see it, they have a good thought. They think good, loving thoughts. Like, that's what I'm going for. And so now success comes with those that work the hardest, but I believe I'm lucky. I've been grinding this week at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I saw that. We talked about that the other day, and I saw it on Instagram, and I'm like, and I know it's because of the sacrifices, so you can spend more time with the family and whatnot. But I'm like, 3:30. That's harsh.
But I'm also trying to give myself the best hours of the day instead of the last hours of the day. So I've been shifting because I've built my career painting at the end of the day after I've already worked full time doing this, that, and when everybody's asleep, I go and grind and I put in the extra hours that way. But now that I'm early bird getting the worm, again, it's still peace and solitude. It's still, I've got 3 hours before most people have even got up and used the restroom, and I've already made money.
There's a book that Nate from Propelia was telling me about, and because we've actually been having this conversation for the past 2 weeks, because he started waking up at 5 a.m. And what it was, and I don't know the name of the book. It's something about anyway, the whole concept of the book is if you normally wake up at 7, get up at 6. Basically, just push it back 1 more hour, and the amount of stuff that you'll gain, because you're gaining back your time. So the first hour of the day is for you. It's not for your family. It's not for your work. It's for you. And in that hour, you need to meditate. You need to read. You need to exercise. You need to do whatever. But it's anything that you want to do for yourself. And then, because I know my dad, he's always talked about for years, pre-internet, he would get to the office at 6. And I was like, why do he get there so early? It's because from 6 to 8 is the only time he actually gets any work done for the rest of the day, because the rest of the day is just phone calls.
Putting fires out.
And nowadays, it's phone calls and emails.
Text and,
So, but from 6 to 8, that's the only time he actually can do his damn job.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand, but 3:30.
To me, I'm pushing myself to see if I can do it, but I've never been one to sleep very long. But if I sleep long, I sleep too long.
Right.
Like I can stay down for 10, 12 hours, but most of the time I'm operating on 5 to 6 hours of sleep, or maybe 7 at a max, but I'm also learning that I'm fine on 6. I actually think I do better on 6 than 8, but I don't want to sleep a third of my life away,
right.
And we're trained to believe, you got to get your 8 hours of sleep. You got to eat your Cheerios and you got to, we have all these things that have been ingrained in us, but most of them are BS. Most of them are ill-guided, and we look at it now. But I think that there's a gratification to know that all the people that are in the art world, that the other top 1% that are, selling in the art world, like I think I'm in the top 1% in sales, currently. Now, I could be wrong, but I'd love to be proven wrong. I'd love to know, but
proven right
or proven right, one of the two, but I'll show the numbers and, but again, I get that gratification knowing that while everybody's asleep, right, I'm putting in the work and I'm making money.
Well, speaking of work and speaking of putting in the numbers and whatnot, I know one of your goals was to be one of the most prolific artists of all time. Who is it currently, and how many art pieces do they have out?
It's hard to, honestly, it's hard to know. I was always going after Picasso in the beginning because he had over 15,000 original works of art in his lifetime. Well, Picasso was creating master level works in his early teens, in his life. And he had instruction and he had, but he was the best in the game. So he would be like the Justin Bieber, of the art world. If you can kind of make a correlation. And, but he was one of the most prolific artists. He was probably the most prolific artist of his time. Well, I watched a documentary on Bob Ross. And they said Bob Ross did over 30,000 originals in his lifetime. And so he just doubled Picasso. And I think most of those haven't been sold. Like 99% of those weren't sold, but he was just doing it to educate. And he got peace and solitude. But I think he was like an army guy. And I think he had like a whole extensive stuff that you would never know from Mr. Happy Trees, you know, but,
Beat me to it.
well, and I've changed my, I've changed. Yeah, exactly. I've changed my mentality now. It used to be a numbers thing, but now it's I just want to give my best, and I want to put as much love into the world as abundantly as I can while I'm alive. Right. But like, I don't do any prints. I don't want to do any prints. Now, I was toying with the idea of actually giving away the licensing to all of my work that I create this year for free. Like if you said, dude, I love that painting. Do you sell prints of that? No, I don't. But do you want to print it? Sure, go for it. Here's the image. You're welcome. I don't want anything. You know, I don't want a dime, but I don't want to print it either. I don't want to go get it stretched. I don't want to go, I'd rather you be able to download the image. That's all on you. But I don't think my work looks good as a print. It's too textural. But for some people, they would love to have a print of my work. And this year, I'd love to just give it all away.
Speaking of the texture of it and first of all, that's an interesting concept of because in especially in real estate with education, Propelio, real estate, propelio.com/academy, a ton of free content, a free education on how to be real estate investors. That same content is sold for like $30,000-$50,000 down the road, but here it's free. So so I think going the free route is a fascinating concept because you can have free or you can have the real thing. If you can't afford the real thing, that's cool. I still want you to enjoy part of my soul. I'm assuming, but if you want the real thing, boom, there's the thing. But on the other side, you have the ability to it's marketing.
Well, my original idea was to use it to raise money, and so I have. How
would you raise money if it's free?
So the plan was to have it on my website to where if you want to download this image, you have to make a donation up to your choice to one of these organizations that I currently am raising money for this year. But after you make this, you get the code, you can download any image you want. And if you want to give $1 or if you want to give whatever, that's up to you and your heart and your generosity, but just leave it free open, but you have to make a donation, and so again, I'm not getting anything out of it. I would just be, saying, hey, I'm giving. The world is about giving. The more you give, the more you get, but don't do it to get, do it because you love giving, and I believe God loves a generous heart, and a cheerful giver. And I believe that, when we are unselfish in life, the best comes to us in that energy,
And speaking of the hearts, if I'm not mistaken, aren't you in your goal 10,000 hearts?
Yeah. And that was more of a mastery level goal. So it's putting my 10,000 hours in, mine's 10,000 hearts. Now, will I outpaint 10,000 hearts? Without a doubt. No doubt in my mind. It's not like I'm going to stop when I get to 10,000, but the 10,000 hearts was always I believe if I put out 10,000 hearts into the world, I will have established a legacy of love for my daughters. That will be a firm foundation that will give that energy to them. And now I've already got my daughters working and painting with me, nice. They're painting on canvases. They're getting paid for them. And then I'm painting on top of their canvas, but using what they paint for me in my artwork. And then when we sell that piece that we're both a part of, that you can see her work and my art, she gets 10% when that sells. And I just sold one to the Ritz, a $6,500 piece. My second big sell for my 8-year-old daughter, but she got a $650 deposit in her account because of her portion. She did a little self-portrait of herself and she wrote, "Think about love." And again, these were things that she did on her own. And then, I give them $5 for every blank canvas they paint on. And if I use something, that's when they get 10% ownership. But when Raphael works on a piece of mine, or if I'm doing people or something like that he has a stronger skill set, or, to me, it's all layers. I give him the opportunity to get that ownership in my work too. But those are opportunities that I give to my apprentices, or people that I work with. But again, it's instead of it all being about me, I'm trying to build them. So like right now, I pay him to work for me and he gets his, hourly rate. But if he works on a piece that I've got a higher end margin, he's given me a skill set that's worth more than that hourly rate to videographer, to do whatever, the day-to-day operations. But when it comes to the creative process, I can pay him a better, but those checks that he'll get, that 1,000, 2,000, that makes a big difference to somebody will make that in 2 weeks, when they can get that and get paid on top of it. But that's how they get ahead. And, sometimes we just need a break in life. We just need people to come into our life to give us a break, but you also got to be asking for a break. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago when my business was almost done, I was fully in debt. I just could not get my head above water. I didn't know what direction I was going in, but I was like, I'm just going to keep persevering because that's what I do. Like, I know I'm going to do this until I die. I'm not going to stop. And so because of that, I know I'll never fail because I won't let myself fail. I'll go through failure. But I remember asking for a break. I was like, man, God, I just need a break. That's it. I just need a break. Send me a break. And that guy came in and he spent 6 figures with me. And I'm still doing paintings for that same family, and he was my break. Now, God sent me 4 or 5 breaks that year. I mean, a $50,000 weekend sale. And, when you stack up $300,000 art sales weekends in art fairs in a year, when you can do 6 figures in a weekend, that's.
Well, I think that comes with that though, is that level of confidence, because humans, we pick up on pheromones, we pick up on energies, we pick up on confidence. So I know that one art fair that I think it was the second one, because there was a second time in New York that we ran into each other, visit you, the one that was on the pier.
Yep.
And
I crushed it at that one.
I know you did. But you were walking around, you're like, and like your walls were empty because you sold everything. And every time somebody walked up, they walked away with a pant or whatever. And so when you do have the 4 or 5 whales that come in and just really make your year, it almost seems like it would help translate into that confidence to somebody comes out, buy it, don't buy it, it's okay. I would love it for it to be a home in your place. But if it's not going to fit, I don't want you to have it.
Yeah, I would never say it like that, but yeah, no,
buy.
exactly. Yeah. Desperation is no one likes a desperate person, and so, and for me, like, I actually enjoy telling wealthy people no. Like when they want to negotiate and they've already shown me their hand, like I'm okay with that. But again, I'm not desperate. Like, I've got a big gold one right now that's a $60,000 painting, and I turned down $25,000, $30,000 offers at my last show. In my last show, I took an L. Like I considered it a failure because I didn't come home with more money than it cost me to do it. So now that show in the past has taken a year to pay out for me. I've had some of those shows that it never paid out. Actually, they all paid out over time, but from somebody that was directly linked to that, that sales opportunity, but I needed the failure. Like I was so thankful for that failure, and I went into it knowing I was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to fail in this. My gut was telling me that you're not going to do good. You should stay home, but I did it anyway. And again, it was further satisfaction to know, but you should have seen the ideas, that were coming up in that failure. And when that failure comes, now I'm like, yeah, I'm learning, and it's something new and it's pushing me to go better. But like my next show coming up next month, failure's not a fucking option. Excuse my language, but it is, I'm not going to fail.
Right.
I can't fail. I have to succeed.
So on a show like that, because I don't know the economics of it, and I understand it being an L, because if you don't sell anything, and I'm sure it costs a lot of money to get the art up there because it's got to be packaged right.
Well, each one of those shows is anywhere from $15,000 at a minimum
just to have
to $25,000 at the high. The most I've spent on a show to have a space. That's shipping, food, booth space, adding walls, adding lights. If you got to paint the walls, if you got to pay staff, like it's anywhere from 15 to 25 all in for that 1 week. Now, at those shows, I'll get anywhere from 10,000 people at a low end. Now, I was in Aspen this summer and I did a show there for the first time, and I didn't see 10,000 people. We might have seen 3,000 people. I don't know, but it wasn't nowhere near 10. But it was still an expensive show. But that, Aspen market, 3,000 Aspen people is probably equivalent to 10,000 Miami or 20,000 Miami, or, whenever you're judging the success of the show by how many jets are at the airport.
Can you,
how many rows of jets?
Because people are coming in there.
Yeah.
So as far as the economics, because you have said that you're numbers based, do you get analytical in the sense that, okay, it has 3,000 people at this event, I need to have at least 10% come through my booth, and out of that 10%, I need to at least have 10% of that 10% to buy to make it break even?
I don't go that far. I look at it as opportunity, and so it's opportunity. I look at it as just as a whole. So my next show that I'm doing, Art Winwood, and I've done it 2 years in a row. So this is my third year, but each time I've done right at six figures, either give or take 5,000, but I'm either above or below, but I'm averaging right at 100,000. And that's an expensive show. The first year was 25,000 to pull that off. And the next year I had an artist that had bought space in my booth. So that took my liability down about 7,000 or 8,000, because he split some of the costs with me, but he got 100% of his sales, but he didn't sell anything. So, at that show, I think he made sales after the fact, but, and then again, I really crushed it. So I 10 times my money at that show, after it was all said and done. Now, it's hard to really say if I really 10 times it, because I didn't figure in the cost of the frame, and that was just for the show and to get it in front of those people. But I know President's Day weekend in Miami, I'm going to see 20 to 25,000 people that weekend, and I'm the only art show in town.
What about international?
I've done international shows. I did a show in Brussels. I was a celebrity artist on a cruise ship for 2 weeks, and I got to go. I was at, FIFA in St. Petersburg, Russia, 2018, I guess it was. But I got to tour around and do a bunch of that stuff too. But honestly, we have the number one economy in the world right now. And so for me to add logistical issues, and logistical expenses, and, I know China or Hong Kong has really been trying to get my work in Hong Kong. So I've had, I get propositioned 2 or 3 times a year to go show in Hong Kong. Well, I look at what's happening in Hong Kong right now, not that interested, but again, I've got language barriers that I'm gonna deal with. So therefore I'm gonna have payment issues, credit, like exchange rates, things like that. I've got travel times. I've got travel expenses. I've got logistics of getting the artwork there overseas.
Yeah.
I've got tariffs. I've got, I start adding in all these complications. And to me, it's like, why complicate it? Right. It's like I have people right now that want me to paint commissions for them of certain subject matters. And I'm telling them no. Like I've turned away $100,000 worth of commissions in the last probably 4 months, but I don't want to paint that.
Right.
But I paint hearts, and people pay me what they pay me to paint hearts. So why would I complicate it by painting something that's not my skill set, or just to try to make that money? I'd rather paint 20 hearts and get $100,000 from that, and know that the person that comes up and that falls in love with that piece values love in their life, and they want that to surround themselves with that energy, instead of, me trying to paint your dead dog or your whatever, and I get it, symbol of love too. And I've taken those for many years, but I'm finally at a point in my career now to where I can say no.
Right.
But I don't want a job or a boss. Those are two things I'm tired of having, and commissions are jobs and bosses. Now I'm thankful for every opportunity. Anybody that wants to spend money with me and, trust me with, that type of, process, and, to be able to be their guy, being their artist. And, but now I'm at a point to where I'm being more selective, and it's okay to say no. But I think saying no is a lot of times one of your most valuable assets. I know in sales, buying things, like if you're buying a car and you say yes to the first number they give you, you're a fool. I mean, like every time you go to a dealership, you better say no 5 times minimum. before you get out of there. And I guarantee you, they're going to drop the price every single time you say no, without a doubt. But that's, no's a good thing. Now, no also limits you,
right?
In life. So, it just depends. But again, like it's whether you're, I'm just playing my music, I'm just living life the best I know how to do, but I'm doing what I'm happy doing, and most people unfortunately don't get to do what they dream of doing or want to do.
Right.
Well,
what this is completely on topic, off topic. It would have been a better segue a while back. Talk about layering and having your daughters work on stuff or Raphael working on stuff. One thing that fascinated me about coming to your studio is how much paint you go through, and then thinking of the finances of the paint itself, because you get on YouTube or watching documentaries and finding out the history of certain pigmentation or pigments and how expensive high quality paints are, and then just having random conversation with you, like that painting up there, how much paint went into that? Like just dollar wise, do you think?
That's probably got about 4 to 5 200 milliliter tubes of paint. That I would estimate my cost on that one to be in paint alone. You're probably thinking about a lot of paint. So I've got the best prices, and so I'm paying anywhere from $7 to $9 a tube for that paint.
Okay,
that's on there. That's a heavy body. It's not really about the pig. Like, I don't need super expensive paint. I need thick, heavy body paint.
Right.
So that's my goal for my stuff. So, but retail on that would be $19 to $20 a tube. So retail on that would be $100 versus for me, it's 30.
But but that's a like what, a foot and a half, 2 foot, 2 foot by 2 foot.
That's a 16 by 16. I sell. I probably sell around 20ish that size. Just that 16 by 16 size for $2,000 a year.
Yeah. But to me though, 16 inches by 16 inches and it's $100 worth of paint. That's a lot of paint,
For most people, for 90,
I'm not an artist. So.
Yeah, but for most artists, they'd be like, they want to stretch their materials, but also had a mentor that was very liberal with his materials and use a lot of texture as well too. And so I get that from him, but I was also a handyman and a paint contractor and a mud guy. So like we did tape and bed and texture. And so, but I've always used those tools. But when I saw him paint early in my process, when I was in my late 20s, I was like, I can do this. But it spoke to me, and again, I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning. I had to learn, I had to try it, but I needed him to tell me I couldn't do it. That gave me that jet fuel to prove him wrong. And now I'm at a point to where I'd love to compare numbers with all the people that told me I couldn't do it.
Do artists, because I know you're open.
I'm open, and most people are not.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah. Are they usually like closed books?
Yeah, most of them are closed books, and some of them, but honestly, I think most people are full of it. I think most people project more success than like reality. But most people are trying to be something that they're not. Yeah. And so for me, like, I'm not trying to be anything. Actually, I am trying to be something I'm not. I'm trying to be better than I am today.
Of course, yeah.
And I'm not better than I am today. But I don't know that I'll ever attain that. But I know that I strive to do better and to be better. But what makes me sleep at night, what I use that helps me, like, I don't live with regret. I don't have any regret, but I'm playing my music, and most people don't get to play their music.
Yeah.
Like most people live their whole life without having played their music.
Well, that's the whole thing about doing this podcast here and building this studio here is one, being with Propelio.
We're at Starbucks.
Oh yeah.
No, I was kidding.
Yeah. I was actually told I was a super basic if I ever went to Starbucks. I was like, what? It's just simple. It's easy to drive through. Anyway, but that's the whole point of this place, is the fact that learned a lot with Propelio, was able to build their studio, build Propelio TV. But ultimately, that platform is for real estate and entrepreneurism. And anytime you kind of seg away from that, or like even when you were on, we try to keep it to the marketing aspect of it and not really get into just randomness of it. So for me, this whole project here is an element of going, you know what? Let's go down rabbit holes. And if we stay on one topic, so what? It's my thing. I don't have to answer anybody. And if somebody wants to watch it, they watch it. If they don't, they don't. But ultimately, my whole thing here is just to have a good conversation and
learn about new stuff. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I always love to hear other people's opinion. Like, but I'm one of those that I think I talked about religion and politics twice today. In my gallery, I had probably 4 or 5 people walk in.
So what was the?
Well, I've got a huge 8-foot Donald Trump painting right now that I'm working on.
Pro, whatever.
Right. Currently, it's negative based. It looks because he's orange and he's got a gold fro. And actually, Donald Trump saw it on top of my gallery when he was here for his rally. Oh, his helicopter, which with military helicopters are loud, and when one's above your building feels it. Believe me. Yeah. Well, I had. You know, whenever I first started painting on it, it was Flash Gordon in 2015. It was an 8-foot Flash Gordon. Mm-hmm. And then I turned into an abstract because I was frustrated with my skill set in painting Flash Gordon. Yeah. And so it turned into an abstract. And then I saw Trump's face in the middle of this abstract. And I was like, oh, I got to do a big Trump portrait. Well, one of my collectors, one of my angel people, the guy that I asked for the break.
Yeah.
You know, he's real close with him. He's done a lot of business deals with him.
So he saw that painting, was like,
and I started painting. I was like, hey, what do you think about me painting? You know, he's big time in Florida. He goes, what do you think about me painting Trump on President's Day weekend in Miami? He goes, I don't know if I do that, but I like it and I'm interested in buying it. You know, so whenever he saw an image of it, and I said, well, I want to work on it on President's Day in one of the most liberal cities, but we're going to film it. And so we're going to get people's reactions and see what they say about it. So we have all this footage of me talking to people while I'm painting Trump on President's Day, you know, that day. Mm-hmm. And half the people hated him and were furious. I mean, I had one lady there that worked for the show that she was so mad at me for painting that. She didn't want to talk to me, and we'd been cool for years.
That's what I hate about. That's what I hate about 2020, 2019, 2020 is the climate of I don't like the color purple. You don't like purple? Fuck you. I never want to talk to you again. It's like, what does me not liking purple have anything to do with you and your love for purple? I hate we live in a time and a culture of just because you have a different opinion or a different belief structure, now you have to vilify each other.
Yeah. Well, and that's a choice, you know, but most people, you know, I've learned small people have small minds, and people that want you to live, like people that think that you should live by their truths, like your life should be governed by their truths. Not many people like hanging around those people, you know, and those people usually push more people away than they bring in. But like, you know, for you, I don't have, like, I want you to be happy and I want you to live, but I can't tell you how to live your life, and nor would I want to or try. But I don't like anybody telling me how to live my life, because nobody knows me better than me, and no one knows you better than you, you know, but when you learn to listen to the true you and you act on those things, that's when you're starting to play your music.
So,
you know?
So back to the Trump painting. So right now it's a negative light.
So right now,
the guy that wants to buy it wants it. Does he want it in a positive light, or he just wants?
Yeah, he wants it in a positive light, of course. But he's probably going to give it to him. He would buy it just to give to him.
Okay.
And probably put it Mar-a-Lago or something. Who knows? I mean, who knows? But you know, it first started. It was going really good, and then I got mad at him. And I'm an independent, so I didn't vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Hillary either. I voted for Johnson the last time. You know, so I went for the libertarian. One, I think I'm more of a libertarian than either of those two, but I'm really more of an independent. Like I just didn't trust him. I didn't trust her either. But now, having seen him for the last 4 years, like, I trust him a lot more than I did, but I still know that he's a politician.
I just wish he would shut up.
Yeah. And, you know, I had gotten mad at him, and I had, when I got mad at him, I graffitied him, you know, so I took this portrait that was looking good, And then I gave him a neck tat, so it had Ivanka on his neck. And I gave him a pencil mustache and devil horns and a devil tail. And I gave him a black eye, and I actually put a triangle over one of his eyes, because it's like, oh, he's definitely working for the Illuminati, But again, I paint in the moment, and I'm an artist that paints in the moment. So I feed off of energy in the world. And because I'm a true independent and I have a unbiased, like other than the trust factor, but I love to show. I think I loves his daughter. Like I like a lot of
we
things
know he
about
loves
him.
his daughter.
I love his daughter. No, but still, it's but I want the man to succeed. I want him to be the best president we've ever had.
Yeah.
Now most people are like, that's great. How could you, but I choose to see the best in people. I want to see the best in people, but I will finish that Trump portrait this year, and I will sell it. There's no doubt in my mind that it is sold, and it will find, and it'll go, and Trump will see it. There's no doubt in my mind he'll see it.
Right.
And it's fascinating to me that little old me that never took an art class has a really good chance to get one of his paintings in front of the President of the United States.
Possibly in the White House.
I mean, it's such a small, thing, but like small chance, but there's a chance. I mean, two of my collectors are attorneys of his, buddies that got his cell phone, so
that goes back to the earlier conversation about how small the world is and how you may know this person who knows this person who knows this person. And like, it's just weird. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, but good things come to like people revolve in the same circles, and you're attracted to what you think about and what you believe in, and I was talking to my wife earlier about belief, and how strong the force of belief is, just belief, which me being a Bible believer, and living out of faith and believing in things unseen and, that side of life. I go back to that, and it's so apparent to me that this is the way it's supposed to be. But whenever you're looking for truth in 2020, of like truth in the way that the world actually is and what to look for to see deceit or liars or whatever, like you can go back to that book and get truth, without a doubt. Now, most of us don't listen to it. Most of us, our ego, it's, I got to feed the ego first, right, and then I give from there. But every religion, every main spiritual document saying pretty much the same thing. You could take the words out of it and you could call him this or call him that, or, but you can't get wet from the word water, or Wasser or agua or H2O. You can't get wet from it, the word. But the word, I think, when we call something, we lose it. We limit it. I think most people have a limited God. Their God's limited by their belief and by their faith. My faith's pretty big, but also, I'm not going to believe against myself anymore, ever again.
Right. I'm
not going to say, you can't do that. You're not good enough. Like, it's not going to happen.
Right.
But I've been a dreamer since I was a little kid. I remember I was talking to my mom last night and we were having a discussion, and I said, do you remember how many times you said, Tanner, stop dreaming. You're always living in the clouds. Just go get a job. Just go do this. Just go, like quit dreaming, live in reality. But I look at it now and I'm like, hey, glad I was a dreamer, because I could have never dreamed the life that I currently have, right, and the blessings that I currently have. But I did.
So because you've already met the goals or expectations or the dreams that you've already had, what's next? What's the next goals? What are the next dreams? What is the next, what's out of your grasp right now that you're striving for?
Right now, I've got several goals, and definitely bigger dreams. I don't even think I think I'm at just scratching the surface of my dreams at the moment. So like, I'm so at the big bottom of it. I have financial goals. It's at 7 figures a year at a base, so, I just missed it last year, like I just came under the number, but a couple paintings and I would have hit it, and if I would have had a good year at Basel, I would have hit it, but like, so I have those financial goals, but again, I'm learning that those are small. Like, but I think my main goal is just to live a life to my best and to create love at such an abundant level that my great grandkids can live off of that energy. And if my great granddaughters want to paint hearts for a living or want to work with love, whatever, I've already paved the way and the foundation for that. That is generational. And in the art world, it's one of the few industries that you get more valuable the older you become. Most businesses, yeah. And most business, again, the older you are. Now, most businesses, they're trying to get rid of you the older you are because you're more expensive, and they can hire somebody half the age for half the cost to do the same job. So most businesses, when I say most, 9 out of 10, if not 9 out of 100. But in the art world, it's different. If you put 50 years in the art world, you're getting millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars for your paintings. Stuff that you're creating. I mean, you got guys like Gerhard Richter, who's a German abstract artist, and he's in his 80s. And he had a piece go across the auction block, I don't know, a decade ago that like $140 million. What was and he painted in the 90s.
What was the banana thing that happened? Banana duct tape on a wall thing. I saw that. I didn't care enough to look into it, but if somebody, it was like, that was an art show and they paid like a gajillion.
Supposedly they paid $120,000 for a banana duct tape on a wall. Me, I call BS.
So it's just
it's a hoax. It's a publicity stunt. Did someone actually do it? I don't know, but it was all the rage. And Basel 2019 in Miami was all about the banana. I mean, it was so much so that I took one of my paintings and duct taped the fire on it on the wall. I duct taped one of my paintings that say art, and I just duct taped this, $10,000 painting on the wall, on top of the frame. And
you just put duct tape on it?
I put a whole roll and duct taped it on the wall. And actually had a customer come in and liked it and was interested in the painting, but it drew them in.
Didn't that ruin the painting though? The no. Duct tape on the paint?
No, I didn't actually put on the paint. I duct taped the frame on the wall, and, but again, that's how much energy it had. And there were people that actually put a banana and duct taped it on the wall, and people were waiting in line to take pictures with it. But
because I've seen jackets with like the duct tape on the banana on the back of the jacket or something.
Yeah.
But it obviously was a joke.
Yeah. And I mean, I even saw a Sprinter van. We were down at the beach on the way out. We went to the beach before we left Miami, and there was a Sprinter van, and they were doing a photo shoot, and they had a banana taped on the back of their Sprinter, and this nice 200,000. But again, it was I don't believe it.
Right.
And no one in their right mind would do that. I get
how much machine has to go behind something like that to make it go viral? Because say it did happen, somebody paid $120,000 for that, then somebody has to share that with enough people with the right enough people to get to mainstream and get it to, like, I don't watch the news, I don't really pay attention, where it's trending enough that someone like me could stumble across it.
Yeah. I wish I knew about how to make stuff trend. I think everybody wishes they knew that. And if we titled this "How to Make Your Videos Trend" on a podcast, you would get listeners just because of that title. The secret to making trending videos.
Well, that was what's funny is like, so because when you got here, we started talking about your studio, building a studio, building the podcast, and I started going through the rundown. I was like, you know what, stop. Let's just start. Because this is good content. This could be something where it is. And then for a past hour and a half, we totally forgot talking about that. And we just started talking.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Which is better.
I agree too.
But, focus and the game plan is always your best option. And like, I've never built a podcast. I want to.
Yeah.
I enjoy talking. I have information on all kinds of subjects,
Well, you sound good too. I mean, the voice it's soothing. There's the ASMR effect. I think with a nice,
really?
Yes, and with a nice microphone, a nice board, a nice setup, you can.
This is a very nice microphone.
Like it is. It really
this is top notch here in these studios.
So let's wrap this up by going through what I was going to start with, but we forgot. So these mics are the Rode Broadcasters. I think they're about $450 new, and I think you can get them on.
Cha-ching.
Or I think you can get them on eBay for anywhere from like $200 to $300
Okay.
used. The stands are cheap, so whatever. You don't need to talk about that. Standard XLR cables. They do require phantom power. So the cool thing is this board is a Rode Broadcaster board. So the board itself, it supplies fan power. But what's cool about it is it detects that this is a Rode Broadcaster. So it has pre-built settings that it automatically optimizes for these microphones, for this microphone. So say instead of getting the broadcaster microphone, say you got the Rode Podcaster microphones, which probably sound the exact same, but they're probably $200-$300 cheaper. Well, there's a setting here for that type of microphone. Obviously, if you already have microphones that aren't Rode, well, whatever, you change it there. And what's cool about this is you have the sorry, I didn't know the button, but you could do the different buttons.
Yeah. So if you're actually got a good button pusher, he can use it at the right time.
Yeah, like if you have a producer behind the scene, or I probably need to move that over here so I can actually play with it.
Yeah.
But you can actually record there. The microphone, because you were asking before, why do we have headphones on? And it's like, well, for one, if we didn't have headphones on, then you start doing this and you start talking away. Well, if you have headphones, you're like, oh, you can't hear me. So that's the basic setup. Right now for this one, visually, this one's probably going to suck, but whatever. It still sounds good because I'm just using the Logitech C920s, which are like $50 a pop.
Hey, it'll get the job done, right?
Yeah.
And when you're starting off, like, you got to take it. That's a win.
And then the camera I'm currently using is a Canon XF100 for that right there. On eBay, you can get that for about $800. Brand new is $2,500. So right now the current setup is 1080p, whatever. Everybody's like 4K. Who gives a shit about 4K? 1080 is fine. Sound is more important than the visual.
And most people watch on their phone these days, and their phones are rocking in at 480, or something like, right?
I still think the quality, because on a phone, you can still tell if it's 480 versus a 1080.
Well, I was just saying what you're actually downloading, getting to see. There's a lot of stuff like on YouTube that I watch, and I get a lot of YouTube, my information. So I listen to YouTube all the time. So
right,
I'd say,
right.
But you notice that a lot of those videos are not super high quality, but when it's voice, everything's going voice, right?
Yeah. Well, the next upgrade, and this is where I was, because you were asking me offline, how do I set this up? The next upgrade for me is I have the GoPro 7s, is swapping these out to the GoPros, and then HDMI out, and then USB plug-in, so that's always powered, Cam Link 4Ks, and then as long as you have a big enough computer, throw on OBS, and then you can switch it out. Right now, I'm just recording all of them versus swapping out. But if we were live, I would have the Stream Deck to where I could actually like swap scenes. So that's $600. The microphone's brand new. You're looking at $1,600 or so. GoPros $300 each. So if you did a 3-camera angle, you're looking at like $1,000 or so. So $1,000, $2,600, $3,200, and then probably another. And then the cam links are $100 each, so now you're at $4,000, and then probably another $500 in miscellaneous wires and stuff. So what else? That's like $4,500 maybe.
Yeah, 40, but 5. But as you can hear, you can easily overproduce early stages. So I think for people that are wanting to start their own podcast, like myself, people that are starting, like, how do I start? What do I got to do? Man, I don't have $4,000, and how am I going to do all this? I guarantee you can do it with your phone.
Oh, well,
there's certain, like there's ways to do it a lot less, but you're not going to get the full quality. But do you need the full quality in the beginning?
Right.
Do you
say you can get a Yeti, not a Yeti.
I have a Yeti. I have one of those.
Yeti. So I have one of those too for my computer. So you throw that right in the middle, and then that's your audio source. You don't need. I mean, if you eventually and you want to sound good, throw that middle, throw the Logitechs, and those are all USB. If you already have a computer, you're good.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about this kind of stuff, like me, I'm a maker, so I get the ability to take a little bit of money and make something.
Yeah.
And so, $5,000 worth of equipment, is what it would cost me to pay cash for it. But I look at it as, because I can make paintings, can I turn $500 into 5,000? If I put 500 into materials for a canvas, can I flip that to 5,000?
Right.
Yes, I can. And so for me, I could outfit this for an actual cost plus my time. Now some people flip furniture, some people, do whatever, but the main thing is, I think, just doing what you're good at and what you're best at. But also, like, I'm learning, like, with my studio, we're in the design district. So, I'm wanting to build my front window in our podcast studio and vlog studio, whatever you want to call it. But
I'm down to help, by the way.
No, I look forward to it. Yeah. And I'm learning, like, I've already reached out and I got 3 or 4 people. They're like, yeah, I got your back, so I think with everybody that I have access to, it'd be no problem getting it done. And
are you talking about the actual build out, or like the guests,
every bit of it,
everything?
Anything. Like, I know that I can make a few phone calls and get whatever I need. If I need a guest, if I need a this or that, like, if I need to know where to get stuff, like, just sitting here looking at all this stuff, I'm like, yeah, I can get all this stuff. But again,
well, this is, for me, this is about 2 or 3 years worth of me just buying random shit, because I've been at Propelio, and I still have a lot of gear at Propelio, like, because I have 3 lavaliers over there that are mine, and I don't need lavaliers for this, but if I was on doing remote location or doing an interview style or whatever, or a boardroom style, you've been there. So a lot of the stuff I didn't buy at one sitting. It's just buy this, buy that, buy this, buy that, and it's just, like, I started with 1 mic and I was like, ooh, I really like this. Then I got 2 mics. And then I was like, well, okay, well, shit. Well, this eBay has 2 for 1. I probably should buy that. So, and I have to credit Daniel Moore because I've never been an eBay guy. And then he's like, why would you pay full price? This works. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So now I'm a big fan of eBay. I do have that camera over there that I haven't used yet, because I'm still trying to look. That's a EOS R. It's brand new. It's like a $3,500 camera, and I haven't even used it yet. And I'll probably never use it for this, because that's more of a run and gun vloggy type thing, where a GoPro for this would work fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and for me, it seems like the main logistical problem with this is the back end, the production, putting it together, posting it. And I think with
tags,
podcasts,
copy, thumbnails, etc.,
having your own producing sound. And, I've got Raphael's going to help me with this. And, he did this for Glenn Beck. And so for Glenn Beck's network, he worked with them for like 9 years, helping produce their shows. So whether he was the main senior graphic illustrator, but he was around the guys that put everything out there, but he would build, graphics for television commercials and all that kind of stuff. And so I'll use his expertise as well. Yeah. But, I think the main thing is getting in the habit of just speaking and putting in the work to have something to say. But the question is do you have something to say? Like, I was watching a guy today on YouTube, and the guy's got 1.5 million followers, and he's an idiot. I mean, like, he watches videos. He's like, "Yo, are you kidding? Oh, no, he ain't saying. Oh my God!" Like, it's just, the whole thing was him saying that kind of stuff. No, he didn't. Like, can y'all hear him? Oh my, like, and he's just watching people, their videos, and he's like talking about reaction videos. But this idiot, I'm sorry, and he may be a genius, because he has 1.5 million people that value his. But for me, I couldn't watch more than a minute of it. Now, I did go watch the rapper's video, the 16, 17, 18-year-old rapper that I was impressed with. And I got introduced from him through that guy. But I'm like, why did that guy show up in my feed? But I'm like, this is what in 2020 the world has come to, that they're valuing that guy. That guy is proving value. So what does that say about our viewers? What does that say about our society and what we value to be important and information that we want to put in our brains? Right. But again, I look at that and I'm like, man, I've got a lot more to say than that guy. Now But do people want to hear that, or do they want to see someone like, oh, duh, like
here's the thing I would say is I hate the word that you'd say they value that just because they watch it, because like I'll get on TikTok mainly because I'm trying to figure out what that means, but also at the same time go, it's fun because it's like junk food for your brain almost.
Yeah,
where you just scroll. Same thing for that guy. He's probably drunk for your brain. Here's where I would counter or disagree with you with value. Do you see people giving that person money for anything? Like, because I can understand
I would.
What's that?
I wouldn't.
Right. So whereas you could watch him and maybe you're giving him value by giving him AdSense, but you may never click on any affiliate links. You may never buy anything from him. And he may be cool with that because he can play the idiot. Maybe he's a genius for playing the idiot, and he gets his million views and he's able to make $50,000, $100,000, whatever per video because he's got a lot of blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, he's acting, or maybe that's who he is, but is he truly valued? Because if there is a shift in what people are, or the viewership are liking, if he's not able to monetize what he's doing and the value is actually through your dollar amount, because with you, I don't know how big your influence on the social media world is.
Not big.
Neither am I.
Because I don't give it my time.
Right. So we're non-existent when it comes to influence, but at the same time, you are way more valued than that dude, even if he does have a million whatevers. Because do you see anybody giving him $40,000 for a bit of his time?
I mean, evidently, if he's getting a check from YouTube is. But I also know who started YouTube, and I know who wrote the algorithms for YouTube. And you look into that guy, and I'm not very impressed. And you look into Susan Wojcicki and those people that are, like censoring everything. And you look who her brother. I mean, like it's just crazy.
There's a rabbit hole of going value versus what. And at the end of the day, it's I think as entrepreneurs, you just can't compare yourself. Like that guy and I wish I could spend an hour just watching you impersonate him. And I don't know who you're talking about, but I would watch that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how you gain traction, is just make fun of people on YouTube that are being ridiculous.
But again, I don't want to put energy out there making fun of people.
That's kind of a negative.
And it's a negative energy, and so to me, that's beneath me.
Yeah.
But, I struggle with like TikTok. I know Gary is all about TikTok and TikTok.
Yeah.
But I'm like, any time that I put into TikTok right now, those aren't my buyers. Those people aren't buying artwork. Like they're just not my market. Now, my wife thinks that I do great on TikTok because I'm not afraid to be embarrassed, and I enjoy doing embarrassing things, and I enjoy acting in the moment. And she goes, "You would actually have a huge follower because you do crazy stuff all the time."
But I don't.
But again, like I don't need a bunch of kids following me.
But I don't think your content on TikTok should be being stupid. I think it should be you painting.
When I thought about that, and when I looked at what he said, I was like, well, if I'm going for brand, then any heart that's painted on TikTok needs to be a Tanner Lawley heart. And I need to show my process of that and kind of build that, but use those songs. And maybe I'd just do a whole TikTok scene of love songs. And then I'm with me painting to that love song. I don't know much about TikTok. I'm actually doing a show next week where I'm bringing in two SMU students who lovely, cool people. They help us out at our events with Propelio. Both are marketing. Both are, I think, 22-ish, maybe 21, 22. But and it's funny because when we talk about TikTok, I'm like, I'm brain dead, and they talk and they laugh at me because we're even having the conversation. But I'm interested in talking to them mainly because marketing for a 20-year-old from an education standpoint, like what is college teaching you versus reality? Like I don't have a marketing background, but that's what I've been doing for the past 5-10 years is marketing. And from an entrepreneur standpoint, where I don't work for a company that has $10 billion to throw at, hey, a banana or whatever. And it excites me to talk to college students that are studying this, but they also live in that generation of a TikTok. Yeah. One, we're in this social media generation that they value vanity, you know, and and I look at Gary and I see what he's pushing social media, and he's right. I believe he's right, but he's trying to sell social media.
Of course.
It's marketing and shoes and, brand. And, so he's,
what is his stock that he owns? Facebook, Instagram.
Well, he probably owns more than that as he's done venture capital stuff, but still
Uber and all those
things. But still, but that's his generation, and and it's perfect for those marketplaces, but it's not like I know the high end art market, fine art market, contemporary art market. Is there people that sell art on Instagram? Without a doubt, but I haven't found success at that, but I've found tremendous success in person, laying the groundwork, having a strong ground game, but I'm making connection, and it's real.
Here's where I would, and this is me just open thinking, and then
be careful.
I know, right? The kids on TikTok don't have money, but their parents might.
And are their parents engaged enough with their kids these days?
Well, and if you can motivate them to be, I don't say, hey, kids, go, because then you come into the whole cereal thing of cereal companies marketing on cartoons, and then the parents, whatever, have to buy it at the grocery store, and then they get a backlash for that. But that's a different rabbit hole that makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting to watch, see how it all grows, but I've always thought that your ground game, like meeting people hand to hand, face to face, that's always going to be your best, but because the ability to transfer enthusiasm is a lot easier in person, but a lot of these people do that on TikTok. But again, the value on TikTok is the eyeball and how long they stay there and watch. And right now they're valuing 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 10 seconds. You look at Vine and Twitch and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know that I've ever. I think I've done
Joe
Vine,
Rogan
but
because he does those 4-hour whatevers.
Yeah,
I mean, hell, this is an hour and a half already.
Booyah.
Almost 2 hours. But again, there's no rules. Who cares? And then if somebody values this enough to watch the whole thing, that's awesome. Or listen, or maybe eventually I'll clip it up as well. But I forgot where I was going with that.
And that's the end of the show, folks. No.
I know what I was gonna say is because we were talking about media, and then we'll finish because I know you're like, God, I have a family, I'm out of here. One of the things I'm working on right now is the media consulting and branding, and the thought process there is, I'm not a professional. Well, I am a professional in that, but I don't have a degree. I don't have a background. I've just been doing it for the past 2 years. People in the real estate community in our little niche know me for doing these things. That being said, it's a hard ask to be like, hey, I need a retainer of $10,000 a month, and I'm going to make you an influencer. Because one, there's no guarantees it's going to happen, and two, $10,000 a month is a lot of money. So one of the things I'm working on is, okay, how do I make an influencer with no money, but also make it worthwhile for me? So what I'm working on right now is, okay, I'm going to take a Tanner, and you know what? I'm going to assist you, and I'm going to take over I'm going to build you out of YouTube, build you out of Instagram, build you out these basically make you an influencer of things for free. But I want back end. So once there's affiliate stuff, I want 50%. Once there's any kind of deal flow, I want at least 15%. And then any kind of things like that. So therefore, the front end is all me, all work. And then as the channel grows, then you can, okay, it's making enough money. I can hire you a full-time videographer or hire a full-time whatever. And it keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going. And then all of a sudden, boom, long tail, there's cash flow. Because I know in the real estate community, I know guys are making $50,000 a month just off affiliate stuff. And that's just in real estate. There's big,
and we're at the height of the market,
right? But I'm talking about for like services, for like skip tracing, like badge skip tracing. That I'll drop a link in below. Check it out. But there's the influencers that the YouTube guys. Graham Stephan, he just released a video 2 days ago and showing his 2019 breakdown of his revenue that he made from YouTube. And he made like $1.7 million just from YouTube revenue. And then he made another million plus off affiliates and other stuff. Obviously, he's got a very high paying YouTube channel because he has a lot of viewership. He has like 1.5 million.
We put the work in to build,
of course,
the base.
But
like, yeah, our
mutual friend Max, though. So, he's got I think 150,000 subscribers right now. And he's probably making, I would say, at least $20,000 a month in YouTube revenue, just the ad revenue from YouTube. Plus, you got to take into account any affiliates. So he's probably making at least $50,000 to $100,000 a month just off his media efforts.
It's impressive.
So that's a long-winded way of getting into, I want to do that for other people with a mindset, I want half of that shit once it hits. I don't know. We'll see.
And if you, I think if, I know I wouldn't have a problem with that if I didn't have to do anything other than talk and show up.
Yeah.
Show up and just be me. Like, I'd sign that deal all day, as long as it was performance based and, it did what it's supposed to do, and that's but yeah, I think that's a good market because everybody loves to share their opinion. It's like sales. That's one of I'm always asking for people's opinions. I rarely tell people about my art or my process or my inspiration or any of that because I'm trying to find out what they like about it. And I'm trying to get them to share their opinion so I know what to talk about and I know what to put value in because people just want to know that their opinion's valuable. I look about like tomorrow, you're talking about the fight, like, are y'all going to have the fight on that TV?
It's going to be outside.
But can it be on that TV?
Probably.
I think it'd be cool to do a podcast watching the game. And talk about
like
that.
live react type
as
thing?
You're watching it. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
But I'd be down for that. But I have a martial arts background too. So, I love martial arts. Now I haven't seen a fight in years, because I've been busy working and I operate from a different energy, so I'm not a fighter anymore. But I appreciate it and love it. But again, as you're building and you never know, you could have that reactionary, jewel that people see and giving a different point of it. But again, like Joe Rogan's the best at it.
Yeah.
He's
because he's smart, he's intelligent. He has that level of not giving a fuck, but he's a comedian. So he's funny.
Yep.
And he has all those connections. So he gets quality people that are interesting.
Well, and he's rarely funny on his show. I don't feel much comedic value on his show to be a comedian
because he didn't have to.
He doesn't have to be, But
that's one thing I'm trying to learn here is like so. This is the fourth time I've recorded a show doing this, but obviously I've done over hundreds, at least probably 200 type videos for Propelio. But so I was rewatched the one I did with TJ, the first one, and I felt like it was the first 10 minutes we did at 8 a.m. So the first 10 minutes were kind of like groggy, but then it got really, really good. But if I'm being critical of myself is I felt like I had to be the funny guy at times. So I would interrupt really nugget fueled moments with a stupid comment.
Yeah. Trying to be funny.
Right. And so one thing's which
rarely works.
It never works.
Yeah. Let's say.
It doesn't even work in real life.
Yeah.
But you feel like, well, I'm that guy, so I have to throw it in there. But so if you're ever doing an interview, the one thing I would say is the hardest thing to learn for me is to just listen. Just shut up and let people talk. Because that's going to be more valuable than you any day. Even if you are smarter, even if you have more information, if you have a guest on, just let them talk. And and as of 2 days ago, again, even more shut up. Just especially for my format here, I'm just trying to have a good conversation and not have I don't need to be a dancing monkey. So,
you could be a good dancing monkey though.
I don't have a big enough skirt yet.
Yeah. Or cymbals.
Well, man, hey, I appreciate you coming in here. As far as
I had fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Wrapping up, any final topics, thought processes, how can people get a hold of you type things, go buy my art, that kind of thing?
Yeah, no, you could find me at if you Google Tanner Lawley, TANNERLAWLEY. You'll find everything you need to do. Google's the best out there, right?
Yeah.
Search engines.
You
You
know,
know, I mean, I'd seen it on my website, but Google gets you there too.
I'll drop you some Instagrams, whatever, too. One of the coolest things about the YouTube and actually being consistent about doing this stuff is when I first started doing this, Ryan Harper, nothing would show up. After about a year of doing videos of Propellia, Ryan Harper still didn't show up. Started doing my own channel, started doing more videos, and now I show up. Like, if you go to YouTube, type in Ryan Harper, just Ryan Harper, I show up. And I know that's a very, very minor win, but it's a win.
Yeah.
So,
well, and you got to be able to be found, but a lot of it's, I think it's just where you put yourself, you know, who you partner up with. And that's a lot of things that I'm still learning to do. I did want to ask real quick. I know we're talking about setting up a podcast, but these headphones that we have that are awesome, by the way.
Did you get used to it?
Oh, I'm totally used to it. I think it was just the feedback. My volumes were off, like yours and mine. It was just the feed, but it's totally fine now. It's been great.
When I hear yours, it sounds amazing.
Yours sounds good to me too.
But when I hear me, I feel like, am I popping? Am I popping? Am I popping? And I look and it looks fine, and nobody else complains. And then when I hear the replay of it, I'm like, oh, it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So you just have to get used to that weird twang of yourself.
Well, my thing that I've been noticing is that I'm a heavy breather naturally, and so I'm thinking, am I? Yeah, but it's like, did I just get through running? I just got through running a marathon, and you know, but you know, I'll notice when I do like an Instagram video or something, I'll just do a little live thing. I can hear myself breathing, and so to me, that's something that I'm cautious of. But that's the only thing I've thought about is whether or not I'm breathing. I'm sure you've seen me go.
Yeah. So, what was your question about the headphones?
I was asking the price on them.
$100.
$100. Yeah. Nice. And these are Shure?
Sure, yeah.
Sure.
I'll give you. What I was going to do was actually build out a full page of all the links because lately I'm just texting here, texting there. So.
And how long does it take for you to produce this podcast that we just did? Yeah. Just for someone that's got hundreds of years of experience working with hundreds of episodes. Mm-hmm. You know, like how long will it take you to produce this and put it out there and put it online?
So it depends.
Actual man, you know.
It depends. If I'm on it, like right now, because this is recording, it'll probably take longer because now I have to edit, and I haven't been done doing any scene switching, and I'm recording, and then I'll cut out scenes. So this one would probably take 4 hours to do everything. But if
you can create a lot of pieces of content with that.
Yes, but here's the kicker. If I was producing for somebody else, I would live edit. And at that point, it's done once you're done talking.
Yeah, which is ideal.
Right. So that's why I love the live stream, because it's live, it's raw, it's done.
It is what it is.
And it is what it is. And yeah, you could trim out some front and trim out some back, but you could put all the elements that you want in the live stream. And as far as producing it, there is no production time because it's there. Now, if you want to download the audio and upload to Libsyn for a podcast, maybe you record an intro. But then as far as the only other aspects of it would be, okay, now you need a thumbnail, you need proper copy. So what I'll do is I'll get a friend of mine, hey, can you watch this real quick and give me some good copy, because he's good at it and he hooks me up. So that may take a little time for that, but it's not as hard. And once you've learned what to do, it's pretty simple.
And the easiest thing to do, I guess, or the best thing to do would be to hire a live editor that's great at copy. But if you can find that guy, it's a gold mine for a podcast.
Because the reality is like, you could just get 3 Canon EOS Rs, have a Zoom HR H6 recorder. This has SD card, and then they all have SD cards, and then you just record it. But then somebody has to take that footage, download to their computer, format it, or get it raster size or whatever it's called. Then they have to edit it, and then they have to export it, and then that's a several day type thing.
Yeah.
So the live edit for me and just streaming it is solid for me.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
No, and I think that's what people want. People want the unedited version of life, because everything we get in mainstream has been edited and passed down and stomped on and
Right.
agendized. Is that a word?
It is now.
Boom. Agendized.
Well, anyway, I appreciate you coming in here. And another thing that's cool about this is because it's me, it's like, if you're like, hey man, I know it's only been a day. Do you want to do it again? I'm like, sure. I don't give a shit. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So the frequency, and that's one other thing I want to do is have a show where if Tanner comes in and we have a cool conversation and it resonates with me, and if people enjoy it, well, fuck it, let's do it again, and again and again.
Yeah.
And it's like almost like a series regular type thing.
Well, it's going to come with a practice, and then once we get familiar with talking about certain subjects, but I'd love to talk about any subject, and I'm a truther and a knowledge guy, so I want the truth, and that's all I care about is finding the truth of whatever, but giving the best, being honest.
Well, and one thing that you were talking about being a maker is I already have a Tanner Lawley original over here, but just, hey, Ryan, you probably should paint that brick. Or, hey, Ryan, you probably need a widget there, in just like direction of a set designer type thing. And, oh, Ryan, would it be a lot cooler if you did it this way versus that way? So little things like that. And again, it'll come with practice, come with just everything. So
when I think of this, when I look at this, like, this looks familiar. I feel like Rogan has this kind of wall, but I don't know. I don't know. But again, it's simple, it's easy, it's effective.
I went with this because in my space right now, in the real estate space, everybody's doing the foam, the sound acoustic board.
Right.
And first of all, that sound acoustic board yes, it works ish, but it's not that. It's not.
A good mic does better.
A good mic does better. Yeah.
Yep.
So
I think it'd be cool with graffiti on it, like a graffiti wall. I'm not a graffiti artist, but I know artists that are. And maybe we could set up something where we do something and then get them some audio that they can use to produce their content.
Well, yeah.
And I think this being a studio that people can use to produce their content and have it to where here's my memory card, and I come in and here's your content. Now you go edit it.
That would be a cool trade, because this life is all about trades. Like, I'll produce you a series, whatever. And what we could do is have, say you are interviewing artists, and as they instead of like sign your name over here, you could be like, hey, here's a 2x2 space,
paint it,
whatever you want.
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
Be good content.
Yeah, it would. And honestly, I know artists that paint on this stuff and sell it. I mean, Mr. Brainwash, who's one of the biggest pop artists today, and he did the movie with Banksy, Exit Through the Gift Shop, which if you haven't seen that, it's a great movie. You got to watch it. It shows how there's an artist today that's getting hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for spray painted stencils on walls that he does. But he's the biggest name in the game. Yeah. But again, Mr. Brainwash, went and filmed him and helped make a video for him, and now he's big time. But he takes this wall right here and does graffiti on it, and I think it's probably like 60 by 50 by 70s or somewhere around in there inches, or 80,000.
So what I'll do is I'll just make it to where it'll live there forever, and then once it leave, cut it out, and then just Velcro something else there.
Well, these are sheets. I would just take the sheet off.
Oh yeah.
And then you could cut it up and frame it and make art.
Actually, yeah. I mean, I just think it'd be cool to have.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah. Hey, it'd be different. It'd be cool. It'd be unique.
Well, and it's going to be a good scene.
Ever evolving.
Yep. I like that.
Well, you heard it here, folks. That's a cool, and I keep on plugging this thing, but just the creativity of going, hey, that idea came from this, just here. Because there's a show we did at Propelio, Grant Teach Me Something, and we did that show like 80 times, once a week for a year and a half, 2 years, and it had a theme song of Grant Teach Me Something, and it's interesting if you go back to the first 2-3 shows. That stemmed from the second episode. Grant was like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool if there was like a theme song or something. I'm like, yeah, Grant, teach me something. And by the third episode, it was like, Grant, teach me something. Yeah. And I literally did that for like 2 years. So anyway.
And it was easy and it was perfect and it worked.
But what was cool about that, my point is the origination or the birth of that is on live on camera.
Yeah. And you had it.
Yeah. It's there forever. So anyway. Forever. So you're going to give us some heavy breathing as we fade out to black?
I think we should all just take a big deep breath. And have you ever seen Wim Hof's breathing methods? Do you know who that is? He's the guy that goes into frozen water for like 5-10 minutes.
I've heard about that, the frozen water thing.
Yeah. And so in the mornings I get up and take a cold shower. And so I go straight into cold. And what happens is you know, every time you get into cold water, you go, but what you're doing is you're oxygenated in your body. But when you focus on your breathing in that, like you can make the cold go away immediately. I mean, within a few seconds, just by breathing. Okay. Next time you get in, try it. No, seriously, like get in there and you're doing but then you focus on your breathing and slow the breathing down and then exhale it out. And then the cold goes away. It's crazy. It's amazing. But I've been doing it every morning now before I get up and I go hit that 3:30. And there's also something about the hour from 3:30 to 4 and the way that the world works I'm learning. And man, that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we'll get into next time whenever you join us on
whatever the show is called.
Hot Breathing Podcast.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Peace out. Thank you. Thanks, Ryan.